From soldier to board gamer to YouTuber, welcome back. This is Board Game Officer. Today we're going to go through a review of Hellbringer. Now, Hellbringer is a solo co-op roguelite dungeon delving, dice rolling, slaying monster type of game. So, first I want to just do a quick overview of how to play the game, and then we'll kind of get into my pros and cons of it. So here you have the playing board. First off, you have your character. You've got slots for equipment here, and you have the enemy board here. What you're going to do is you're going to have a hand full of cards that are going to be spells, equipment, or some type of potion here. What you're going to do is each of your equipment, you're going to spend action points, which you have written down here at the bottom. You're going to use action points to play your cards, to equip them, and to activate them. Playing those cards and activating those cards are going to give you a certain amount of dice. You're going to roll those dice, see if it matches up to their health and defense. If it's greater than, or if it's equal to or greater than, that monster is destroyed. Now, as you can see, I've got a lot of cards here off to the side. This is the roguelike upgrading system here. Now, once you kill one of the monsters here, you're going to flip it over, and you are going to place it in one of these 6 slots. You're either going to give yourself more health, more defense, more sight, more action points, or more ability to learn more of these skills or the spells. You're going to be going through this deck of enemies. At the beginning, you're going to set up the top of this deck here with different locations, combat cards, tome cards that go along with the story. When you get into those locations are going to come here, which are going to affect the battlefield out here. Once you get to the end here, the last location is going to tell you to draw either a random one if you're playing just a random one-off, or it's going to tell you a specific big baddie that you're going to take from here and play out here. Once you have the big baddie, it's got 2 sides that you have to destroy. Once you destroy that baddie, you win. Now, this is an all or nothing system, meaning their health, there's no damage tokens or anything. If you roll equal to or greater than, you kill them. But if you roll less than, then nothing happens. It's a complete miss. That is both for enemies and for yourself. One thing that I really do like about the system, which we'll get into the pros, but as you can see down here, this is how you alter your stats, because your stats are going to change depending on the equipment and skills that you have. They're going to alter with your leveling up system. So these are going to change constantly throughout the game. So it has a very nice and easy dry erase ability here to keep track of all of that. Which, as you can see, everything changes a lot, so that's really handy. That really is about it. You got damage dice here. You got what they call acid dice here. Acid dice has 2 blanks and 4 5s. The damage dice has 1 blank, 3 5s, and 2 10s. So the math is pretty straightforward. Counting by 5s makes the math easy because you will be rolling a lot of dice. As you can see, I have a lot of dice out here. The most I've rolled in one time has been just over 20. I think it was like 27 dice. That is the max that I've ever rolled. So you will be rolling a lot of dice. So having it 5 to 10s make that a little bit easier. Sorry, I'm kind of getting into my pros, not meaning to, but just kind of going through what it's going to look like on the playthrough. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the pros. The first pro is going to be, as I just talked about, is going to be this system here. Being able to have this little dry erase, and this just comes with the game. This is not like a deluxe version. This just comes with the game. Ability to erase that and change it as needed. Like I said before, this changes a lot. So being able to keep track of it is a game changer. Super cool idea. Really enjoy it. The next thing I like is actually this upgrading system. I love every time you kill someone, you're getting like that loot, or you're being able to upgrade yourself. And the choice of it is great. As you can see, I have everything kind of scattered here. So it's not like you are just going after one thing every time. What's actually cool about it is sometimes it depends on your equipment. Like this time, the more health I had, the better my battle axe actually did. So I've got a lot on my health, even though I'm a hunter. So usually I'm a ranged character, which feeds into my next one, is the loot. I mean, this here is only like a quarter of it, because here's another stuff in the discard pile. So much loot in this game, and this is not including the loot and merchant expansion or the quests and events expansion. So because with all this loot, you're going to be able to kind of build your character any way that you see fit, or maybe not see fit, but as the deck sees fit, right? As I had a hunter, but I had my battle axe, and that was the best weapon I got, so I actually built my hunter like you would build a warrior. This kind of had a Tiny Epic Dungeon type feeling if you ever play Tiny Epic Dungeon, because your whole character depends on your loot. Sometimes you might have a druid that you build like a warrior. Anyways, it has that feeling, which I love Tiny Epic Dungeon. So this was a huge pro for me. The next pro is going to be this dice. I mean, like I said, my max was 27. Rolling all of those dice into a dice tray like this, mwah, I love it. I'm a huge dicer. Dicer? That is my new name for it, a dicer. But I love rolling dice, so being able to do that is so much fun. Sometimes scary when they're rolling 25 dice against you. A little scary, but still really, really like that mechanic. The next thing is actually this deck. I really like how when you discard and draw, you actually draw from the top, which makes you go through the deck, or which is the dungeon. So the more cards you draw, the faster you go through the dungeon. However, sometimes, as you can see, this thing actually has a little lip here, or not really a lip, but it's raised here, because sometimes it'll have you draw from the bottom of the deck, and this little 3D printed insert, which you could buy, or you could 3D print yourself, which is what I did here, and being able to just draw from the bottom, which lets you draw cards without going through the dungeon. Really like that mechanic, which I really like this deck holder, which makes that a lot easier. Now for my cons. Once again, this here, which I do love this thing to track it, but there is a lot to keep track of, which I just did a playthrough of this game, and through that playthrough, I actually had one of these numbers wrong the entire game because at one point I forgot to add. So even with that thing to help you remember, I was unable to update correctly because there's a lot to manage and to keep track of there, which can be frustrating, especially when playing solo, not even noticing that I was down one the entire time, which could have changed quite a bit, but just a lot to keep track of. The next thing is sometimes these enemies are going to have how many dice they roll, and then also an ability right above it. And sometimes those abilities can be a little punishing, which is good, can be, mess with your strategy, but sometimes getting rid of a skill or two, which, like if you're playing the sorcerer, that could ruin your whole game because a monster spawned, and monsters spawn right before they activate. So if the one spawns and gets rid of two of your skills, and you're the sorcerer and those were your best things you have, now you've got nothing, and now you're really in the dirt. Once again, I understand it's chance, but sometimes the enemies did feel a little punishing. So other than that, that's pretty much all my cons. So I have a new concept that I'm going to call obtain or abstain, meaning should you obtain this game or should you abstain from it? So my overall recommendation for this game is definitely going to be an obtain, because I don't know if you could tell from my pros, but I had so much fun with this game. The dice rolling, the upgrading, the battling, the equipping. I love loot. I love dice. I love upgrading. This kind of checks all the check marks, check boxes. That one. It checks all the check boxes for me, and I would have to recommend obtaining this game. Now, my caveat with that is if you do not like luck games, if you don't like dice rolling, If you don't like having to keep track of a high changing stats game, this game might not be for you, and you might want to abstain. But that is my overall recommendation. I will put the links down below to this game, and I will see you later.